Hey, Sean, I had a profound realization the other day while eating cereal with my 4-year-old because on the back of the cereal box there was a maze. It was Honey Nut Cheerios and there was like dripping honey that made this maze. And over the past couple months, after different cereal boxes, my son has been doing some mazes. He's been enjoying looking at it and making his way through them. And we were at the zoo recently and they have this maze that you can walk through. And his first question doesn't apply to the metaphor. Maybe it applies to the metaphor. But he said, is it dark? And it was. It's like this inflatable maze that you walk through, but it's all like black plastic. So inside is dark, and it's part of their Halloween something or other shenanigans. But I was like, do you want to do the maze? Because I know you like mazes. And he was a flat no. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that mazes are one of these things where on paper, you can really enjoy them. You can be really good at them. But if you try to walk through a maze, an actual maze where it's you in it, whether it's a corn maze or a hedge maze or whatever, a custom built maze, one of these inflatable mazes, whatever they are, that is a profoundly different experience than doing a maze on paper. And where this hit me was lately, for like the past year, coming up on a year, I've been studying Stoicism philosophy and trying to change the way that I react to situations, trying to be a better father, a better creative professional, a better collaborator and colleague, a better friend, a better leader in the places where I serve in a leadership capacity. And these Stoicism tenets have helped me so much dealing with different small crises that come up and big crises that come up. But a few times lately, all my tools that I've studied and built and read about and practiced, all of them have vanished. And I've been left in just a puddle of anxiety. And especially over like the past 3 weeks. There've been some rough days and rough nights in the past 3 weeks. And so much of it, I get frustrated after because I'm like, I know how to handle this. I know how to look at this. I know how to reframe this. I know how to find perspective on this. Why am I just... Why are all my composure exercises? Why is everything disappearing? Why do I feel like it's the end when I know it isn't? And in my heart, I know it isn't. And when I pause for a second and I realize the true trivial nature of whatever happens to be bothering me, I'm so frustrated afterwards because I'm like, I know better than to feel that way. I've been working so hard for the past year to really combat this, and the tools just vanish. And it's the same thing with my anxiety. And this is sort of, I mean, these tools are very similar to the tools I've needed to handle my anxiety attacks over the years. And for me, every coping mechanism that I've learned, every behavioral thing, everything that I've done, cognitive behavioral therapy, is that what I'm thinking of? Everything that I've tried to learn to help me with anxiety, I feel so good about it until something happens, there's a crisis, and it disappears. My tools disappear, and I'm just back to square one. And granted, I recover faster than I used to recover. But I was so frustrated with it, and then that's when this metaphor of the maze started to really resonate because it's the same thing. Where on paper, I can do a maze pretty well. I can see what's on the other side of a dead end. I know how to go around it. I can see what's coming and not to go that way. I can sort of zoom out, see the end, see the beginning, see where I am, and find a good way to get from point A to point B. And that's what these tools are. And that's what this philosophy has been doing, is making it possible to live this life. And then if you take all your maze preparation, all your experience, all your tools and your practice, and you get put in a dead end in a hedge maze or in a dark plastic inflatable loud Halloween maze, suddenly all that perspective vanishes and you are just left in the dark facing a wall. And you can turn, but there's another wall. And you can try to go back to where you came from, but there's more walls. And it becomes very difficult to retrace your steps, to know, have I been here before? Have I made this turn before? You can't be as methodical as you are when you have the perspective of this overhead view like you do on paper. And it's the same with anxiety. It's so easy when I'm not feeling all the pressure of whatever crises, with anxiety or with business and leadership and the other things I'm a part of, where you can be in the situation of oh, everyone in my family's healthy right now. If something happened, here's what I would do and here's how I would handle it calmly and safely for my family. But then my son fell and hit his head today at soccer practice and had hit a rock, and I panicked. And I'm driving safely. I had that much composure, but I'm driving and I'm like sort of jogging through the parking lot to get there to make sure he's safe. And 2 days before, I had just gone through all this in my head, but on paper, you can have the best plan, but when you get there, when you get in that maze, it is so easy to forget all of your preparation, to forget all of your practice, because not everything applies. Even practicing on paper doesn't help when you're actually in the dark. What does help is reminding yourself that you are in a maze and there are ways to get out of it, and you got into it somehow. And worst case scenario, you can go out the same way you came in, with a maze. Or you can say, okay, well, if it's an intersection like this, I know if I go back this way, I'll probably be on the other side of this wall. And you can, from your experience with doing mazes, start to picture, okay, I can't really tell where I am, but I know if I make a few turns, I'll be able to have a good vision for where I am in this thing and how I can at least look for the next step forward. And that's the whole thing here, of reminding myself that I have the tools, and it's important to study these tools because it makes you better when you're in the situation, but it's not a guarantee. And like anything, it takes practice. You can read every book about how to hit a baseball perfectly, but the first time you're up against a major league pitcher throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, you're going to learn quickly that everything you read in that book helps you, but it can't make you good. You've got to swing, you're going to strike, you're going to foul some off, and maybe, just maybe, you'll connect with a hit and have a good hit. But there's no guarantee of that. And I think that's what happens with philosophy a lot of the times, and with my preparation, with the work that I've done to work through my anxiety and to deal with it, is this idea of like, oh, okay, this makes sense to me of how I would handle that situation. But I've got to be in that situation and fail so that I can remember to have the tools next time. And the more I fail, the better I get. And beating myself up for getting flustered or getting a little panicky when I'm all of a sudden in a maze, and giving myself some leeway to say, you know what, I have the time to remind myself that it's going to be okay and that I do have the tools to help me navigate this situation. But the big takeaway from all this was, yeah, study it all you want, but when you're in it, can be really difficult to find the perspective just because the way our brains work, the way our vision works, the way our minds work, and the way society works. So be kind to yourself and understand that even if you know these things of how to handle a situation, how to deal with whatever, you might still get a little flustered, and that's okay. And taking a minute to take a breath and calm yourself, find your composure, is going to be the best way for you to move forward. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching these videos, for being a part of this channel. If you watched it this far, it means so much to me that anyone would sit here and spend any time watching me talk. It is an absolute privilege, and I appreciate it. That's all I got. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye.